On the last video, we got the 2JZ mounted up to the 8 HP. We got it back in the car. I got a ratchet strap holding the transmission up right now. There's a jack holding the engine for extra security. If you didn't know, an 8 HP is an 8-speed automatic transmission that you could clutch kick. It's affordable, it's strong, and it's fairly easy to find because it came in a variety of cars. And our next step is to mount this flex mount, which is the transmission support bracket for the 8 HP, and then weld and fabricate a transmission mount that's gonna bolt to this onto the chassis. In my last video, we talked about how we're gonna clutch kick. So with this Haltech linear sensor, we're gonna attach this to the clutch pedal and it's gonna act like a clutch master. So the inputs and outputs that this is gonna send to the TCU is gonna engage and disengage the clutches on the transmission, and it's gonna act just like a manual transmission would. If not faster, quicker, and better. This alone gets rid of a lot of mechanical components that fail during drifting. Like on a regular manual car, you'll have a clutch master, the slave, the line, the throttle bearing. Under extreme heat and conditions, if one of those fail, you're slipping clutches. You're pulling out the transmission at the track. You're doing some crazy stuff. And if you don't have a replacement clutch, you just pack up and go home. Definitely starting to see the benefits of having the 8 HP swap versus a standard manual transmission. The clutches are submerged in oil versus a regular twin disc or triple is dry, so it could withstand the horsepower and heat a lot more because we're going to be running a huge transmission cooler, and that's going to help stay cool. And I think that's the biggest problem also that you have with standard manual transmission is there's no cooling, there's no external cooler. Nothing to decrease the transmission temperature. And cooling is the most important part. We're just gonna jump right into it. Going with the lowest setting on here at 0. And this is pretty self-explanatory because those sit flush in there. So that will go into there. And this cutout gives you room to get the bolts onto the drive shaft. We are underneath the car. We're gonna mount the flex mount onto the 8 HP. And this is gonna give me a good idea of where we're gonna fab up our transmission mount. So, gonna get our hardware that DOMIWORKS provides with this whole kit. Just wire wheeled where we're gonna weld. Still have to do the other side. Alright, so I prepped all these plates. We're gonna weld these nuts to the back side of the plates, so then it's very easy for removal. I made marks where the brackets go to drill out the nuts, so then I could get this to sit flush. Once I drill those out, the plate should be able to sit flat. I hammered this corner a little bit, so then I have a full flat mating surface. Same thing here, so then the angle iron will sit flat. Got both of our plates tacked up. Got a can of primer, sprayed the surfaces where there's exposing metal, so there's no rust there. Grabbed me some construction paper, kind of started drawing up a transmission template. That's what I got so far. So, all right, so after a couple tries, this is what I came up with. Got my template on the sheet metal. We're gonna cut this out. It's very thick. It's like the thickest stuff I had, so cut it out. I ended up cutting another piece because I wanted it to be stronger and not be flimsy, so. Nothing special, nothing too pretty, just very strong, very rigid. I found some hardware. Paint is still sticky, but that's okay. Got the trans mount bolted up. The transmission is still floating a little bit, so I'm gonna get the hardware started. Then I'm gonna go underneath, lower the jack, lower the strap, snug it up. Yeah, I'm gonna lower the strap now. Did that drop a lot? Oh yeah. So this is my transmission bracket for the 8 HP. Very simple, easy to remove. Plenty of room to get to the drive shaft bolts. Remove the bracket. I'm doing solid mounted motor mounts and transmission mount because we're doing custom intercooler piping. That cannot move, so that's why we have it like that. No bushings, very rigid. Alright, so the 2JZ to 8 HP swap is complete. We got everything mounted up. I need to go underneath and get a drive shaft measurement. But it's time for us to mount our DCT shifter. This is going to replicate a sequential shifter. Back is up and forward is downshift. Gonna have to Make a nice bracket for this so it's nice and sturdy. Now that we don't have a ratchet strap holding the transmission, we have room to mount that. I went ahead and disassembled the center console and trim. I made a cover plate to cover up the old holes. And this is also going to be the plate that's going to hold the DCT shifter. So I made a mark where I'm going to wire wheel this plate and weld it in. I'm also going to make marks to put nuts to make this easy install. So I could just unscrew it, take it out, put it back in. This bracket's for my e-brake. Got my nuts on the bottom tacked up. Did a few tack welds. Test fitted the trim piece, made sure that's where I wanted at. Bop, bop, bop. Brum, brum, brum. Yeah, that's too fun. Like, you really have to take this off and finish welding it. Alright, I kind of jumped the gun and welded it and then sprayed it with some black so it won't rust. I ran the wire towards the front of the car and left the extra up there. So I'm going to start putting the trim pieces back on. That should finish it up. That is satisfying. Could do that all day long. On the next video, we'll work on getting this clutch sensor mounted onto the clutch pedal. After that, we could run our harness and power up the TurboLamik TCU and hopefully do some testing.